was the first time any of us had met each other. I socially met Katrina at TIFF once a few years before. I'd met Kieran Hyde socially once before. I'd never met Dame Judi Dench. And of course, we're all wearing masks, but Judy comes in wearing like a tiger mask, like a roaring tiger.
Oh my God. Like the oldest person who should probably be wearing like protective gear is like, I got the fun mask. Who says hi? Hi, Jamie.
Hi.
For anyone that doesn't know, Jamie Dornan and I worked together on, I think, his first acting gig, Marie Antoinette, with Sofia Coppola.
Yeah, I remember thinking it might be my last. It's definitely my first. Not because not I didn't enjoy it. I remember just thinking, I don't really know what I'm doing here. And it was 17 years ago.
Wow.
Isn't it? Yeah.
That's crazy. We both have 2 children, or you have 3?
I have 3. And I was going to say we were both 22, and I think I'm right in saying that you're 1 day older than me.
Are you the 29th of April?
Well, hold on, what are you? I'm the first
April 30th. Oh, you're the 1st of May, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I think, because I remember we both celebrated our 23rd birthdays on set of Marie Antoinette, and yours was quite a big event because it was your movie, and then it was the next day it was like, hey guys, it's my birthday. And it was much of a lesser occasion. That was mad for me. I mean, that was a pretty good first gig. I know you started pretty strong as a young actor.
I was nervous too, though, Jamie.
Yeah.
And also all our stuff was like making out, and like I was not comfortable with that, as it's never that comfortable ever.
Yeah.
So I was actually very nervous too, because a lot of our scenes were, I think my first time I even showed my breast was with Sofia. She never used the take, but like, and I don't even know if I don't even think you were there. I think someone just pulled me like down. Right. But there was a lot of things where I just felt I felt overwhelmed too.
Yeah, God. That's crazy to know that now. I mean, you handled it very well. I felt you were just in total control of everything.
Well, I also felt like I have to be more chill maybe for Jamie. Like, we both can't be like weird, super hot.
What's happening? I remember...
Well, because we had to improvise too.
Yeah, we had to improvise. And I remember Sofia Coppola, director, did this thing of... we didn't really meet until we met in the scene.
Oh,
isn't that right?
Which is sometimes a little bit more awkward,
Yeah. So I think I was just sort of at the time just following what my gut was telling me to do and thinking that'll be fun, I'll do that. But it wasn't until years later that I think I actually went, oh no, I think I want to do this. And if you want to do this, you have to really work hard at it. It took me a long time to get there. Whereas I guess with you, because you were doing it much younger, that sort of understanding of like what it takes and how much work and preparation and talent you need to do it was probably instilled in you much younger.
I mean, I think I was familiar on sets and things, but I feel like each movie is kind of its own like planet. So almost how you work sometimes is adjusted a little bit depending on the environment of the set. Like, what's your relationship with this director, or how are these actors together? So I almost feel like every experience is very different. So I do work a lot now. I started working like pretty intensely on a project in my mid-20s. I started to get more serious and just learn more about the methods I like. And I don't know what it was for you, but I really I liked a more natural way of acting rather than like a presentational way of acting.
Sure.
But both can be good and both people enjoy. It's just the movies I think that I migrated to, like watching a Jenna Rollins or the movies in the actresses in Jane Campion's movies. That was the kind of acting that like got me excited.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there was like certain roles for you that you're like, oh, I love, because in Belfast, I could tell you were a father in real life. You know what I mean? At that point in your life, because it's easier to access those things when you have become a parent. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. And I think back to like the first time I played a parent in something and I didn't have a clue how to interact with children, you know.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just don't really know what's going on or how to portray that. And, you know, so much of what we do for a living is, you know, we've experienced something similar to what we're trying to apply to a character. And you realize when you haven't experienced that, how much you do need that experience. I think I've always been drawn towards very, like, naturalistic performances. I something that, you know, where you don't, you know, it's easy to say, but you can't see the process, you can't see them acting, you know. I try to never go in with a plan, would be what I would say. I don't want to feel like I'm trying to stick to some kind of blueprint of how the scene should go, because we know that, like, there's so many mitigating factors that change up what that plan was, you know, if you had a plan. And I want to talk to you about this with Part of the Dog. I love, you had a stillness that I love a stillness pretty much in any performance. As an audience member, you're just questioning what it is that's going on inside their mind. Did you have a plan with Part of the Dog in terms of that, in terms of like a general sort of temperament for her?
I do map out the performance in some way, just so that it's ingrained in me and I feel grounded in the person I'm playing. So I don't question anything on set. Any idea that pops up or bubbles up in me, I don't question it. So it basically just gives me a freedom that I really love. Like, I know that I have choices, but I think it's about throwing it all out the window at the end of the day.
Yeah, and do all the work just to feel free.
Free, exactly. I think all we want to feel is like the most present in the room, you know? And that's hard, you know. It's easy. It sounds easy, but when you have like someone doing your makeup or someone having a bad day or like the boom hit like comes, whatever it is that can distract, I just started to learn to use that stuff too. It's like if I heard a noise, oh, is it Phil? Oh no, it was, you know, someone passing Jane T. But you know what I mean? But I can use it as a paranoid feeling maybe. So I just kind of learned to use whatever's happening in my environment for me as opposed to blocking me.
I wanted to ask you about with Sofia Coppola, because, you know, talk about trust and a relationship. How many movies have you done with her? 3, is that right?
3 movies, and then I just popped into the bling ring just like to have fun and just say hi.
But do you feel like there's like nothing you can't do when you're under her helm?
Well, we do definitely have a shorthand together. So honestly, we could not talk and then go to the first day of filming and we'd know exactly what the other one wants or can do, and she knows I'm down for anything, and I know I'm in good hands with her. So to me, like, having the trust, having the freedom, I mean, that's with, like, I could tell with you two on camera that, like, actually one of the things, which is one of my favorite things to do that I always forget about doing, is like just keep the camera going and doing a lot of takes back to back. Because there's something that breaks, it's something that breaks up some momentum sometimes, where everyone can come in and fix this mark or move this coffee mug, and it just like starts to people forget, like, no, we're trying to capture like lightning in a bottle here. Like, let's just roll and just do it again and do it again.
You're right. It's a momentum thing, and also like it's stopped to give a particular thing, and sometimes the director can't articulate it in that moment, or you're struggling to. But there was good stuff you were doing before, but by the time it's taken sort of 7 minutes of a slight relight or a slight adjustment on something, and the note to be sort of conveyed, whatever the good thing was you were on to before, it's gone.
Yeah, and especially also during like emotional things, to break that up too. You're just like, mate. I just remember Jane. I was like, Jane, just do it again, because I can't. I'm not like a tear performer. Like, I have to really be in an emotional state, like listening to music, like really getting into. I'm not a waterworks performer. You know, I'm like, I'd rather give it all immediately and then be like, okay, you got to capture this, because I can't do this all day. I'm not a machine that way.
Yeah. How was like Jane Campion?
Jane, like, immediately really wanted to get down to really what makes me-tic as Rose, her vulnerabilities and what she relates to as in Rose in her own life, which she's talked about. She had a nanny that was, you know, gaslighting, bullying her, would not feed her certain things in a way, or tell the parents one thing and do another thing. Just like your worst nightmare as a parent, basically, having someone like that watch your children. And she felt like she couldn't say anything. So immediately she was vulnerable about her own struggles. And surprisingly, Jane is a very good actress. Like whenever we were in rehearsals, she would be, the people that weren't there, she acted like so well. And sometimes behind the camera, even when I wasn't on screen, I'd watch her and she'd like mouth the lines, like almost like a little stage mothery, like, and it was just, it's so sweet though. She's so in it, not all the time, but like she's so in it. And she has such a, I'm sure that she writes her scripts a little bit like that. She must. So she's a really good actress, which I didn't know that about her, but she's very honest, very direct. And I think, listen, it was a dream to work with Jane, but I was also very intimidated and wanted to do a good job for her. You know, the last thing I wanted to do was disappoint Jane Campion.
Right.
So that gave me a pressure that was helpful to play Rose, because clearly she's also under a lot of pressure. So that, was one thing that, like, you know, it definitely stressed me out some days.
Considering the sort of immense drama and extreme tension that is in The Power of the Dog, was it a fun set?
You know, it's interesting. I had fun when Jesse was on set.
Of course, yeah.
And I really loved Cody too. Who played my son. He felt like my friend immediately. You know?
Yeah.
Immediately, we had a little secret I gave him that we could share as mother and son to take with us in the film. But to be honest, my role was, we shot all the exteriors first and then all the interiors after. So I'd work like once or twice a week maybe for like a little thing, or like I'd have to burst out of the house screaming for my son.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't even know everyone's name yet. And I just felt a little like, you know, I'm someone who wants to get to know everyone so I can feel comfortable, and everyone, you know, we're a team here. And I just felt like I'd be coming in and just screaming and crying and then have no context. I had a plan for her, but I just, from an outsider, I'd be like, she's crazy in this role, you know, or whatever. She's, you know, like, what's the deal with her and her son? Or I don't know. I just felt like very, it was a little bit, I didn't get my footing right away on this set.
Yeah.
Peter?
Rose?
Peter!
Rose, what's the matter? Rose.
Can't Peter go with you today?
Well, he could, but him and Philip kind of paired up.
I don't want that. I don't want him to be with Phil at all.
So in Belfast, Jamie, you play Kenneth Branagh's father, which probably, you know, when you're playing the director's father, I'm sure there's some kind of, you know, pressure in that in some ways to like do his father, you know, justice, or I don't know. You tell me, like, was that a weird thing for you, or?
Yeah, I mean, listen, when I first spoke to Ken over Zoom, I mean, this is crazy. It was like one of the very first ever. I didn't even have Zoom then. It was like, what was it? It was like early in the pandemic, like, where we didn't.
What happened to FaceTime?
Mate,
Why did FaceTime just like?
That used to be fine.
Yeah.
God forbid you have shares in Skype, you know. But it was I remember feeling that. I felt this pressure of like, he's going to talk to me, and I knew he wanted me to do it before I spoke to him. But then I was like, I will lose this when I meet him, because he'll talk to me and go, actually, you know what? Like, I've never met him before, you know, so I was like, he's going to talk to me and go, oh, you know what? Actually, I don't think I want that guy playing my dad. But we had this brilliant introductory to discussion. In that moment, even on that Zoom call, that trust that I was talking about earlier just was settled in. It was sort of built from, like, the foundations of it were already there from that thing. From that initial chat, he was just like making me feel that I was the only person he wanted to be portraying his father.
What do you want? I want my family with me. I want you.
We're talking about his, life story here. They say semi-autobiographical, but it's it's a lot of it. About 90% of it is truthful. So we're talking about someone portraying himself, his brother, his parents, his grandparents, the most important people in his life. But actually, that pressure that we were all feeling, I think, at the beginning, apart from Dame Judi Dench, who's worked with Ken 12 times and probably wasn't feeling any kind of pressure, that was all just washed away because he gave us this freedom, this trust. And not only that, he really wanted us to bring our own thing to it early on. He was never like, I had so many questions for him at the beginning about his father and how he really would have responded in these scenarios, and is what is on the script and on the page similar to how his father would have been, or was he sort of behaving like that in front of his family because he wanted to come across a certain way. All of these sort of in-depth questions, trying to get a sense of his dad beyond the page. And actually, he was so much of it. It's not like he wouldn't answer them, but he was very much like, I want you to do your own thing with it. I want the character to be imbued by what it is you think is appropriate as an actor, as Jamie, to bring to it. That's massive for someone like me. I don't know, it's massive to be given that confidence, I guess it is, to feel like you can own it a bit rather than trying to be this sort of very idealized version of who his father was. I guess the others. So that was it kind of ended up becoming easy because we felt like I've never felt such freedom on a set. I've never felt such so confident on a film set before.
And that's why you gave such an amazing performance too. It's like you had the freedom. You had the person being like, I chose you for a reason. You do you, because that's what I want,
Yeah, and that's massive. It's massive. You don't realize until you've had it other ways where you've felt paralyzed by the opposite of that, of people thinking that you shouldn't be there, questioning yourself or whatever, into this sort of corner. When you get the sort of keys to the kingdom version of it, it's unbelievable. And then you just wish that every job could be like that, where you are trusted. Not only have you got great words to say, which is everything, but you're trusted and you feel that you can bring your own thing to it. It just makes our job so much easier. And there was also the pressure of Ken. You talk about Jane Campion being a decent actor. Talking about Sir Kenneth Branagh here, who's
masterful,
right,
Shakespearean.
Yeah. And you're sitting there going, I don't want him judging my acting. You know what I mean? But again, when you actually adds to it, like if you have someone who's such an actor, taking you aside and telling you that you just did beautiful work, that's an incredible feeling.
Yeah, it's very wrong to think that because, I remember on Melancholia, I had the best time. It was like the coziest set and like so free, and I was playing someone who's depressed, but I was having the best time.
Yeah, right.
And we were all in this zone together, and I just feel like in Europe, or like we shot in Sweden, and people are just a little more like free, and I think I like that European kind of mentality when it comes to filmmaking too. I don't know. Yeah. It just seems like anything goes, which I love, Well,
I remember like on Marie Antoinette, I remember like there being like red wine at lunch and stuff, and
I did that one day, I remember, because I knew it would make me tired to have like a glass of wine at lunch. I'd be like zonk with the head, with the hair, and then
good point. But I remember like red wine and macaroons. I was like, this is a great gig.
That's the only gig. I think when I was younger on Interview with the Vampire, they had wine too. Like everyone would pack into these buses, and it'd be freezing in Paris, and like everyone would pack into these lunch buses and have this like gorgeous meal in the middle of the night with red wine because we were night shooting. I mean, I was just a little girl then, but I think those experiences really, they make up the feeling that you want to recreate, or like the magic or the fun of movie making. Sometimes things can get a little, I'm sure it was hard for you guys because I haven't worked. I worked in New Zealand. We had to stop and then restart in New Zealand to finish The Power of the Dog. But you guys, when did you make this film? Like fully in during the pandemic, right? Which is a little mask on, mask off. It's weird, right? At first.
Yeah, it was very full on. We were the first production in the UK to start shooting in the pandemic. This is before even mention of a vaccine, let alone a rollout of a vaccine. It's crazy now, you know, like in hindsight we look back on this stuff like that we were able to do it. I think we got really lucky with our timing. It was only it was like 2 weeks rehearsal and then a 5-week shoot. It was 25 shooting days. It was small, but it came at this sweet spot of like in the UK where they had this like easing of restrictions in the summer. I'll never forget we did Ken did this great thing where we sat around a table the first day of rehearsals, and it was all the grown-ups in the cast, basically myself, Katrina Balfe, Judi Dench and Ciarán Hinds, and it was the first time any of us had met each other. I'd socially met Katrina at TIFF once a few years before. I'd met Ciarán Hinds socially once before. I'd never met Dame Judi Dench. And of course, we're all wearing masks, but Judy comes in wearing like a tiger mask, like a roaring tiger. It was so great.
Oh my God. Like the oldest person who should probably be wearing like protective gear is like, I'm not the fun mask.
I know. She should have been wearing like Perspex visor ones with like the built-in. But she's there in this thing and it's just like, this is who I am. I'm really fun. Yeah. I'm a bit outrageous and I'm a bit, you know, as Ciarán Hinds says, she's a rebel. She's just a rebel, you know, and like we're all there in our little like, you know, very like medical looking, you know, blue masks.
Yeah, the N95. Yeah.
Honestly.
So
and then we did this thing of Ken asked us all these questions about family and our own families and how family experiences and how we'd react if this was the situation. If you came home and you found out this about your mother, this about your father, how would you react? And suddenly we were all, the four of us were like crying and opening up in massive way. It was so smart and it just built this trust and made us all, we'd all shared so much with each other that we all instantly felt at ease with each other, which is massive.
Yeah, and that translates immediately to your film.
Yeah.
And in turn, you're kinder to it. Like, you'll really look in this person's eye. You'll have a different relationship immediately.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he put together your group because of probably a universal kindness too of the souls or whatever he saw in all of you together. I think like half of making a good movie is just who you cast in these parts, you know?
Whatever happens, what you've done with these two, it's phenomenal.
Let's talk about Rose in The Power of the Dog. What drew you to the character in the first place, and that's a very challenging part to take on. How did you go about constructing Rose in your mind and then in the physicality of it all?
Jane reached out to me in my early 20s about working together and it never happened. So It was kind of this faraway dream. I mean, Jane could have called me to play a ranch hand and I would have said yes. Like, I would have done anything to be in a Jane Campion movie. In the beginning, as when I got it, I think we had like a month or so before we started shooting and I didn't play piano. So really that was like a big hurdle for me to get through because do you play piano? Or?
No, and I've had to do it before and I've at times gone, guys, you're going to have to help me out here. We're going to have to cheat this bit.
I learned 2 pieces. I didn't learn the whole piece. I was like, just tell me exactly what you want because then I'll get that really good. I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
So it's just like one hand over and over and over again, the other hand over and over again. And when I finally put my hands together and started to learn it like that, I literally looked up and thanked God. Like, I think I cried a little bit. I was like, thank you. Because it's so hard to learn an instrument, especially when you have a child. You know, I'd put my kid to bed and then just get to the piano and drive everybody nuts with the same lick over and over and over and over again.
I'm so sorry. I can't seem to play. I
played in the cinema pit for hours and hours. I'm so sorry.
But then I work with someone, and I use actually my dreams to help inform where I kind of the feeling I want to place in certain scenes, or I'll ask about characterization or anything to help me get my feelings like deeply rooted into what Rose is going through. So like for the scene where I had to play piano, for me, one of the most I don't know, I guess that feeling of failure would be, you know, hearing someone, I hear Phil play the banjo, who Benedict Cumberbatch plays, like he plays the banjo in this really effortless way where he's like riffing and he's really creative and he's so confident in his art. And so I feel like one of the deepest, like most miserable things I would feel as an actor is working with someone where they just like trump you with their artistry in such a way and like make you feel like shit about it too. It's just like, and for me, I was just that failure of something you thought you were good at, and then you just go, oh, I'm done with this actually. Like I can't even do this anymore. Like, because I'll never be even close to the genius that you are, you know? So it's kind of like...
Yeah, but I mean, you don't want to be thinking that way, but I guess that's where our mind goes.
I kind of had to. I mean, Rose is so, she really lets, you know, that like infiltrate her brain in such a way. I think, you know, when you're in a position to be gaslit by a partner, a boss, whatever the situation is, I think you yourself are probably in a pretty vulnerable position to begin with. And then that person of power goes, I got you. I know how to like mess with you, which is awful. Being in Rose's environment, I was very happy to go home to Jesse, you know?
Yeah. And are you quite good about leaving it all on set and just getting home and being yourself?
I am, but like, I think these things seep in no matter what. Like, I'm not someone who I'm like, oh, I'm going to live in this character all the time. Yeah. But I think when you go home, things do seep in. I felt like I was more insecure playing Rose than I have been in a very long time. Yeah. About what the work I had done for the day.
Your career has been varied in the best kind of way of like, you're one of those actors I think that like, it's so enviable looking in because you've done kind of it is, yeah. it is.
I'm like, really?
You've done everything, and I really admire that. And I'm always trying to say that, like, you know, versatility or the sort of a large palette or variety, whatever way you look at it, is what this whole thing is about.
Well, like you did Barb and Star. Like you probably were like, I'm not the guy from this. Yeah. Like, look what else I have inside me to express. So you're the same. Like, I feel the same way. Like, I was getting, you know, after certain movies, I was getting offered, you know, certain types of parts. And I was like, I don't really want to play the depressed mother. Like, I want to go, you know, laugh or have fun or do a dark comedy or play someone. So I feel very much the same way as you. Like, the last thing I'd want to do next is play an insecure, you know, woman. I'd want to play someone who's very in her center and doesn't need anything from the outside to make her feel like she's the shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, I think I think you shed certain things about yourself too. Like, I feel like this industry or this job should be somewhat cathartic. Like if you're really doing it for yourself, you can really get some stuff out and figure out things while you're playing your role. And then you're done with that because you're like, it's like, if you can't find an interesting way to get around like playing something again or some kind of feeling again, then why do it? It's not, I guess what's kind of inspired you or what you'd like to do if you could do anything next or work with anybody, what director or like, what is your dream?
I think it would either be Paul Thomas Anderson or Barry Jenkins. You know, I hung out with Barry Jenkins a bit at Telluride this year, and I was just constantly going like, this is so cool. It's like, it's like a fanboy. But they're the couple that just come to my mind. But then, you know, it's like the idea of, you know, working with like total, you know, all-time legends like Marty Scorsese or Spielberg or something.
Yeah.
Just the idea of that experience of what that is, being a set with a titan like that, you know.
Yes. I also thought Maggie Gyllenhaal's first movie was amazing, Lost Daughter. I loved that movie.
Incredible.
Love that movie. That and Licorice Pizza was one of my favorites of the year too.
Yeah.
There's some I haven't gotten to yet, but there's been a lot of good movies this year.
Yeah, it does. It's and actually makes you feel all the better for being in one that people are talking about.
I know.
So much great competition. Like, you know, it's so
when
nice
has this ever happened? Has this happened? I don't think this is the only time this has happened to me, and I've been working like a long time.
Yeah, it makes it all the more special or something.
Yeah, in one way it's nice that we like have more time with our families, and you know, I get that it's for everyone's safety, but it's been kind of nice to not have to like go to so many events, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because but then on the other side, it's nice to like mix and mingle with like your peers and get to know people that you wouldn't necessarily get to meet if you weren't in this like crew that was, you know, going to all these things.
I'll tell you right, I met Simon Rex, who's the lead in Red Rocket, who is almost in every frame of that movie, and I just think he holds it so well. And I just went up to him and I was like, I could never have done what you did. Like, you know, I was just in awe of what you did, you know, and I probably should do that more. And I wanted to ask you about that. Like, I've done that one or two times. I love it when it happens. And I'm making myself be better about it, because I do say this is the smallest industry on the planet, and you can, without sounding like an idiot, like whatever, but like at a certain level with it, you can reach everyone. You know, everyone is just hey, do you mind sending me so and so? Like, that is all it takes.
As soon as I saw Lost Daughter, I wrote Maggie.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw Red Rocket, I had someone reach out to that director. So yeah, I'm pretty good about that.
Yeah.
No, I'm good about that, because I also want to work with these people and I want to work with these actresses.
Yeah. I'm gonna knock out about 10 emails after.
We'll just do it now.